What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is June 21st of 2019. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic Friday wherever you are. It's almost the weekend, and as you all probably know, the topic of today's video, outside of a few other things that we're going to discuss, is no other than Bitcoin, which has been crushing it over the last few days on this continued rally over the last few months. We've seen more than a 3x in Bitcoin as the price rests around 9,700, and we're close to breaking the big even that everyone's been waiting for, 10,000. So in this video, we're not only going to be talking about some of the macro factors that have come into play for Bitcoin to get to where it is, but we're going to talk about if they're enough to continue and extend a rally past 10K, or that we should expect a correction. Again, it's just an opinion, but I hope you guys stick around for it. Two other things I want to let you all know about. I will be doing a live stream for Bitcoin if we get towards 9,900 in the next few hours. We really are that close to it. So we might be doing a live stream for that if you guys would like to join in later. And then outside of that as well, if you guys are interested, to stick around towards the end of the video where I did an interview with Matthew, who is the CEO and founder of Travala.com, one of the companies I recently became an ambassador for. Just wanted to explain some of my rationale as to why I'm on board with them and talk about some of the exciting things they're doing. Alrighty, guys. So taking a look over the last 24 hours, cryptocurrency markets for the most part are in the green, with a few exceptions to the downside. But the thing is, most cryptocurrencies right now are getting outpaced by Bitcoin. We can see the bulk of this green here is not keeping up with the king at the moment, outside of a few major players like Bitcoin Cash, Monero, and Ethereum. Again, you've got some other altcoins in that basket, but in the sense of really large players, you're really only getting a few established cryptocurrencies up here that are really outpacing Bitcoin, not to mention matching with the kind of volume we're seeing. So it's amazing to see Bitcoin has been killing it as much as it has. We haven't seen the follow through on altcoins just yet, and I think we really need to, altcoin traders at the moment are really betting on that liquidity flush out of Bitcoin, and not just out of cryptocurrencies in general, but to hopefully flow into altcoins. As we can see, as we talked about the other day, if we were to break past this $300 billion mark, we were going to see it mostly in Bitcoin. And that has been proven over the last few days. We're still seeing an entry into Bitcoin. We're seeing Bitcoin dominance grow back towards the 57% range. I think since we last looked at the dominance chart, we've seen about a 1.5% difference in growth for Bitcoin. And altcoins have been tilting back over here. So again, quite expected, guys. I think right now you're seeing a huge purge of a lot of different altcoins out there due to a few different things. First off, Libra, I think, is going to take away a lot of the kind of fast payment settlement market that's out there at the moment. I think a lot of those altcoins, some of which I really like, I love a lot of the peer-to-peer digital currencies, are going to have to find other selling points to utilizing their cryptocurrency networks. But outside of that as well, Bitcoin itself is seen as this new global hedge, as a new store of value to escape and flight capital outside of all of the different markets, such as equities, properties, currencies, you name it, in order to avoid all of the fears in regards to trade wars and what's going on in countries like Hong Kong at the moment, and the currency crises that are going on in South Africa and Turkey and Argentina and Venezuela. There's a whole basket of things, and people, I think, sometimes forget, as we go into taking a look at the price here, guys. I mean, I want to emphasize a few things. So sorry, we're actually pressing up towards 9,800 now. Look at that. There's a few things to really keep in mind here. Bitcoin has come a very long way. We are still at less than 1% global adoption. That's a fair point to be made. And I spoke about this in our Libra video, which if you haven't watched, I recommend you pull up and watch after this video. I kind of ranted and raved a little bit, but I think the response was quite positive. I think it's like 97, 98% likes and stuff. People seem to enjoy the video. The fact of the matter is that Bitcoin is one of the largest currencies in the world. People don't really consider this. And if you want to consider it a store of value, that's fine. You can throw any label you want at it. Bitcoin as a market is becoming one of the major currencies of the world. It's at least in the top 10 right now. There's, I think, some estimates. It really depends on, the money supplies that exist for each currency. Some people factor in MO, M0 to M2 or M3, which are different measurements of the supply of currencies out there. It depends on if you factor in credit and certain measurements like that, or just simply bank deposits or notes. Besides the point, I'm rambling on at this point. Bitcoin is one of the major currencies of the world, and it's not tied to any nation. It's not surprising to see that one country isn't the overall user of Bitcoin. It's something that anyone can use. And if countries try to make it illegal or try to ban it, people find a way around it. Bitcoin is censorship resistant. And as Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have proven, in the next few years, we are going to be in completely, private censorship-resistant networks. And there will be so many interesting gateways. I think we're just seeing the cusp of the innovation of this, where people will be able to permissionally interact with Bitcoin in every way, shape possible without any government being able to stop it. And what does that do to Bitcoin's value? I think we all know what it's going to do to the value. So that's my kind of optimistic viewpoint. I'm very excited to see Bitcoin has been doing so well. Along with that as well, even though the volume isn't as exciting as I'd like to see, as we saw back over here where price was just going straight up exponential, volume is still good here. We're still seeing good liquidity come through and at a higher price range than, obviously where we were back a few months ago. Now, as I mentioned, we've had a 3x from here, guys. There's been a lot of things that have carried this forward. First off, as I talked about, as Bitcoin being a global currency and a global hedge, it has been obviously rallying a little bit off of the fact that there's been a lot of macro factors at play. There have been growing fears of a trade war. There have been growing fears of central bank monetary policy causing damage to equities and traditional currencies, which leads a flight of capital out of those markets. You've got growing fears in Hong Kong, uncertainty with Brexit. You've had currency crises across the world. There's a lot of different things that have not only been persistent, that have existed, but they have been persistent in their nature. They've been lurking around, acting as if they're dominoes that can knock over certain parts of the financial economy. So with all of these things coming into play, and an over-exhausted equities market probably being the biggest, looking like it might topple over, you don't need much capital in order to prop up these markets. I think a lot of the money, to be fair, guys, and this is actually quite exciting, a lot of the money that has come in now has come in from predominantly Asian markets at the moment. We haven't even seen institutions in the United States really get their edge on cryptocurrencies. And that's an actually exciting thing. That's something that might be able to push Bitcoin to 10,000. And that's when we have the other factors coming into play. We have Fidelity. We have all types of different institutional vehicles, not even an ETF as of yet. But if that comes in, that will be quite exciting as well in the sense of price potential for Bitcoin and investment exposure. But I mean, even just these things are signs that there is institutional interest as this is starting to come back up, as it's been the best performing asset in 2019. The thing that I want to kind of demonstrate as an example, if you don't really believe me on that, guys, if I sound like I'm overselling it, take a look at GBTC. Take a look, and I can't remember the symbol right now. It's another grayscale ETF for Ethereum Classic. Go take a look at the premiums. Do the price measurements, because you can go find what's backed in each share of the ETF as to what people are paying to have some exposure to Bitcoin or Ethereum Classic in these ETNs. They're not exactly ETFs, not as liquid and not as open to everyone as an ETF would be, but these ETNs are having huge price premiums, sometimes 30, 40, 50% off of the actual fundamental value on what these are being traded as on crypto exchanges. So it shows that there's those who really want to get exposure to this. And just imagine what an ETF or full-scale Fidelity investment would opportunity would do to the price of Bitcoin. Now, we've put a lot of that into play, guys. Let's be honest here. We're sitting near 10,000 in the next, it could be anywhere from the next 24 to 48 hours or as close as the next 12 hours, which is why I'm considering doing a live stream this afternoon. The fact of the matter is that we've got two things. You've got 10,000 coming up, which is already a big even level, already after a 3x in price movement from the lows. We've got a line of resistance here that has held down the last three levels of resistance for Bitcoin, and we're lining up exactly towards that. Do I see us blasting past 10,000? Personally, not. I really don't see it happening today. I think after this, you are going to need a cooldown. But considering all of these factors, I don't see the cooldown lasting that long. And I'm not even certain if I see it going all the way to 6,000 like I originally presumed. And the reason I say that is because there are just a lot of factors that make this time, very exciting for Bitcoin. Again, we'll have to see. I don't want to make any big calls at the moment. I'm not trying to do much TA. I'm just trying to provide some rationale as to my thought process right now for more of the bigger swing. I do believe that this is going to experience some form of a correction. Whether that's down here to 6,800, 6,000, there's no really good way to tell right now where that level is going to be. We'll have to see what happens when we hit that psychological level. If selling starts to hit quite dramatically, yeah, maybe we could see 6,000 to 7,000, a standard 30 to 40% correction that we see not only after Bitcoin exited out of the bottoming or basically consolidation phase, but also is very common in bull markets. If you want to consider that we're in a bull market, in the last rally, every single correction outside of one exception at 28% was between 30 to 40%. So that's not too crazy to estimate, right? To expect something like this, no matter if you consider if we're in a bull market or if we're escaping that consolidation period and we need that correction, right? All right, so I've talked about Bitcoin enough, guys. Outside of that, we have a few other market leaders again, such as Ethereum, which has been keeping up with Bitcoin here over the last few hours. Again, I have pretty good confidence in Ethereum, and it's not due to the fact of the ICO space. It's more in relation to the DeFi movement. There's been a lot of exciting projects, guys. I really recommend you guys take a dive into it. I mean, trading cryptocurrencies and altcoins is one thing. Really seeing what kind of financial services and opportunities are coming out of this movement is extremely exciting. And ETH is leading the charge, as much as we do have RSK, which is going to be make Bitcoin have programmable contracts, and there's other protocols. They've been at the lead of this. So anyways, that's going to be it for the TA side of things. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the huge headlines, guys. So the CEO of Bank of America says he wants a cashless society, or the whole Bank of America wants a cashless society. Well, it's not just Bank of America. It's a variety of banking institutions across the world, and I think we know exactly why they want a cashless society. This is not because they're up in arms saying we want cryptocurrencies to go mainstream. No, it's actually quite the opposite. They want to be able to track and trace transactions. They want to know where you spend money, when you spent it, and how much you spent. And outside of that as well, I mean, at the surface you'll hear, oh, this is about anti-money laundering and things of that sort. Guys, I mean, it's just like with any other institution of governance. Even though these are commercial banks and central banks who have really been pushing this, the reason they want a cashless society is so that they have an absolute track record of where money's being spent. And if it is digital and it's not in the form of a cryptocurrency, that it is centralized, your account can be frozen, you can be censored out of transactions. Again, on the surface level, that doesn't seem like a possible reality. It sounds a little bit dystopian. But the thing is, at the end of the day, as I talked about in my Libra video for Facebook, money is one of the few things that should be absolutely censorship resistant, that no one should have any way of censoring or stopping and your use of that money. That's your money. You've worked hard for it, especially if it's not tied to a national government like the dollar is to the United States, or the euro's tied to the Eurozone, whatever it may be. You should have absolute autonomy over your money. I personally really do believe that. It's one of my very few libertarian views. There are some things, I used to be a full-blooded libertarian and things of that sort. I've changed my views a little bit in some regards, but I will say that there's something you cannot censor, and that's money, okay? Because people will find a way around it, as they do with gold, as they did with cash. There's so many ways where you can have absolute financial freedom, and I think cryptocurrencies are going to provide that. And I don't think it's for money laundering. I don't think it's for any of that. It's the same as the internet. That's 1% or less, or 1% of the people in this world. And the fact that we treat everyone like a criminal in order to try and prevent that, when it's proven time and time again in censoring these types of activities, you're just not going to really get there. I think that's wrong, to treat everyone like a criminal and to keep that financial freedom from people. I think most people are, law-abiding citizens, and they're good people who simply just want a way to hedge themselves against the traditional monetary system, things of that sort. And in this case, you can see this is coming from the Bank of America CEO. We've heard this a lot, especially from a lot of European economies. Sweden has been on the forefront of pushing for e-currencies such as the e-krona. And I think it's very important, they don't care for a cryptocurrency society. They don't care for, the freedom to have a variety of different digital currencies. They want you to own their digital currencies, whether it be a private commercial bank currency, as I think we're going to see a growing trend in people owning, certain currencies like that. Or you're going to have the national currency in this case. So they even talk in the article as well, as Sweden being one of the leaders in this. But again, I know that no matter what, no matter if we want it or not, there is going to be a cashless society. But I hope that we can, like I mentioned in my last video, work towards building a better framework for digital cryptocurrencies rather than just simply digital cash, such as we've seen in Sweden and a lot of these economies. Most of the money we have already is digital, right? That's something that I think a lot of people forget, especially in Western economies. United States, 98, 99% all digital. The euro, I think, is very similar, 97, 98% is practically all digital. It's wild when you think about it. It's numbers in a system mostly created by banks, whether it be central banks or through fractional reserve lending through commercial banks. So I think we've got an economy built on sand in a lot of regards. All right, so another thing that kind of came out of the blue here over the last few hours and was reported not only here on the block but also through Bloomberg is that Bitmain has revived its plans for an IPO, and they actually plan to launch it in U.S. markets. And this is after the Hong Kong IPO had practically flopped. They had decided to close down on it, and now they're actually still looking to conduct an IPO as a company. And I think they're doing it at the proper time because, A, if they're going to do it in Western markets and stuff, they've probably got a better chance of actually getting it listed, because a lot of NASDAQ-based IPOs, things of that sort, demand that you usually have some kind of unique selling point or technology in order to consider yourself as kind of like an emerging tech company. They've got that through their hardware. And the second thing as well is take a look at the price. Take a look at the hash rate, guys. I don't have it pulled up here, but you'll see that the hash rate is at an all-time high for Bitcoin. People aren't stopping on the mining, folks. They're getting on the gravy train. They either want to make money on the Bitcoin network or they want to have a peace and security. In this case, I would say it's probably the first one. Most of them want to make money. But in this case, it's amazing. We now have the highest hash rate for Bitcoin's network. And again, I know that some people think that mining is wasteful and, this and that. Look, I don't even want to spark that debate, guys. Like, some people claim that it's run off of green energy and things of that sort. The fact of the matter is, Bitmain as a company is going to be doing just fine over the next year or two as Bitcoin continues to rally higher and as the block halving comes as well in 2020. So this is something definitely to watch here. Again, they are the world's biggest producer of miners, and I don't think that's set to change anytime soon as long as they continue to have the talent on board to continue making ant miners. Not to mention to just maintain the reputation would probably be enough alone in this case to continue, Bitmain to where it is. Now, next up, we've got to talk about a very important macro lesson, guys. As you all know, I always try to tell people not to paint the world in a very black and white view, to view things in a very streamlined, simplified way. There's a lot we don't know about the world and that we oversimplify when it comes to kind of getting a big picture view. And this is a prime example of that, because it tends to be that a lot of us out there, including myself, I used to have these kind of views that everything was just interconnected. That, like, for example, we would see, if there was, Facebook was working in bed with like the major tech companies abroad, and they're also had the same incentives as the big banks and things like that. It's very easy to get caught in that trap. But interestingly enough, as Facebook and its other corporate partners have come through with the Libra, we have now seen Mark Carney, and not just Mark Carney, but vast amounts of regulators who probably receive money from financial institutions, Mark Carney being at the head of one of the major central banks of the world, the Bank of England, coming to the forefront and now saying that Facebook is not allowed to operate something like this without the oversight of the Bank of England, of the European Central Bank, and of the Federal Reserve and other central banks alike. Permissioned innovation is how they see it. And basically, this is, they talked about, he brought two factors here. The first thing he brought up is obviously the standard anti-money laundering. As we've already talked about, this is the big talking point of central banks. And yet, at the same time, while they're talking about trying to counter terrorist financing, it happens every single year through cash. It happens through every single region you'd expect in the world, even in Western economies. People get away with it all the time. They funnel the same industries they say they're trying to censor, like such as drug cartels and things of that sort, yet they have a 1% DEA efficiency rating. They don't stop money laundering. Okay, at the end of the day, they really want control over money. That's the fact of the matter, guys. It's inefficient. It doesn't work. I hate to be opinionated about it, but it's true. And at the same time, they claim as well that this is about data privacy. When on earth have financial companies, let alone tech companies as well, ever cared about data privacy? And I know that that's probably what Mark Carney is trying to say, in the sense of like, if Facebook's operating this, we need to make sure they have respects to GDPR. guys, they don't care about this. Like, what they care about is having control over the system. And this is going to be the exact reason and the inevitable reason that this technology fails, is that it is controllable in some way. There is an association, the Libra Association in Geneva, Switzerland, with these corporate partners on board, and they're not going to risk going up against the central banks of the world. Let me make that very clear. That is like the absolute reality of this. And it's why, as much as I'm excited about the potential of what Facebook could do with its other corporate partners and building a permissionless network inevitably in the future, there are too many centralized components to this. And it's why I have, these hopes for the platform, but they're all hopes at the moment. I have to realize it as that. So, again, it's so funny. To get back to my original point, Facebook and its corporate partners, as much as I know corporations, it's very easy to kind of bundle them together, do not have the same incentives as Mark Carney and the central banks. The financial sector and the tech sector are clashing as we speak. It's very, very exciting. And, I wonder if tech companies are going to spend more on lobbying efforts, are going to spend more on trying to persuade Congress and other governing bodies to be open to this and let this technology, be experimented with and flourish, and maybe get a better framework for cryptocurrencies and other things of the like inside the space, raising capital, security tokens, things of that sort. So very, very interesting, a wash of different incentives coming together. All right, so taking a look real quick, guys, as you all probably know, I just want to make it clear, CoinMarketCal is one of the new sponsors on the channel. It's a really cool site, for those of you who don't know, where you can just take a look at different types of events across the board in the cryptocurrency space. Now, I want to show you guys real quick on the page here that you can do all kinds of different things in regards to searching for specific events. So you can not only take a look at separate exchanges, specific coins, breaking down into what certain things you want. You can also type keywords here, a certain date range for what you're looking at, and you can also exclude certain things. One thing that I like to do, for example, select really hot events here, so I get to see really some of the big events that people are excited about at the moment. This can usually be, for example, certain listings, things of that sort, and maybe also as well that I want to exclude things that are sponsored in this case. So I can get down again to the nitty gritty of things that I'm really excited in, certain releases on protocols. For example, we got news here in relation to Cork Chain. We have as well, Everex has been one of the remittance protocols at the moment, so they've got an app pilot coming up, as well as Matic Network, which everyone's been going crazy about, with both a Plasma implementation, that's going to be interesting, and a proof of stake validator in this case. So a lot of interesting kind of events you can see here, things that can help you in regards to kind of timing events on markets to where you're better at timing those events so you can actually trade off of them, things of that sort. I can tell you guys, so many people don't do their research on upcoming events, and it's helped me a lot in the past. We've talked about using CoinMarketCal in one of my trading tip videos a long time ago, and it is something that I do use for keeping an eye on upcoming events. I check it from time to time, and I'll let you guys know if there's any cool big events coming up. But again, you can sort certain categories, AMAs, airdrops, things of that sort. And if you want to find ways to get engaged in the community, they do have conferences and community events, so you guys can always keep in the loop on that. All right, so we've got to talk about the macro perspective in commodities and equities. So the Fed the other day decided not to raise rates. Now, we talked in the last daily update that this was very likely that the Powell's going to try and play it both ways. We haven't done anything to change monetary policy, but we are considering 2 interest rate hikes. And the prediction models are already saying that the Fed, this is from the CME Group's prediction models for the Fed interest rate, as well as others out there in the industry that are leading indicators for what the Fed's going to do, are predicting that by July and August, it's around like a 75 to 80 to 90% chance that we're going to see 3 rate cuts this year. 3 rate cuts. So as we've seen this huge flip and a dime of the central banks to instantly go from no reduction of the balance, we're on autopilot on reducing the balance sheet, we're in quantitative tightening, we're slowly raising interest rates in increments, and there's no excuses to pull back. We've now frozen that trend, and we're now talking about making a direct course in a 180 direction. And gold has been completely responding to this. It has been in an absolute response to this, with prices sitting at $1,400 US and setting an all-time record in the Australian dollar. And to be fair, the Australian dollar has lost some of its nominal value from other currencies out there. But at the same time, this is important to note. It shows that right now gold is coming back into the picture, that gold is becoming an exciting asset again. And we have done everything technically right. Gold has broken out of its over decade-long wedge that it's been formulating here. And we're now breaking up for the first time in 13 years. Not sorry to take it, I guess, from the top here. For the first time in about 8 years, we are now seeing a very, very clear bullish trend. We've broken out of the line of resistance. We've made it support. We did that clearly over the last few weeks. And we are now making a straight vertical rally here where gold has gone from around 1280 to 1398, $100 move plus in gold. And silver as well is looking quite interesting. Silver's been picking up from its lows here right when it was looking down to retest down here at $14. We've gone from around $14.30 all the way up to $15.30. Again, $1 move per ounce of silver, that's pretty good. And the thing I'm looking forward to, I don't know if, I'm not going to FOMO into silver at this moment, but I am looking to trade silver sometime this year. And possibly do it on a little bit of leverage as well. But I'm waiting for it to break past this parabolic declining line here, this decaying line, this decaying exponential line here. If we can break past that, meaning if we have a nice breakout above $16 per ounce, I'm going to be long silver. This is the range that I'm looking for here over these next few days towards the close of the summer in 2019 all the way into any time in 2022. This is the range where I'm getting eager on silver. It's a very long price range. I know we're taking a look at the weekly here, but I think you're going to get that, as markets get more eager for a hedge, you're going to get that more here in late 2019, early 2020. So very, very excited for this here. Again, has been making previous resistance in the past, held down multiple times here, new support. So very, very interesting to see. And again, taking a look at equities, take a look at equities here. Notice how, ever since we've had the announcement here, equities are moving up as well. It's an interesting dichotomy. We haven't seen this in a while. But again, when we take the broader picture here, guys, it's understandable why equities are moving the way they are. I think we just hit new highs on the S&P 500. The reason for this obviously has to do with the fact that interest rates are getting cut. But the reason you see a move in gold and the reason you see a move in silver is because when people see this kind of trend where the Federal Reserve and other central banks, which are going to follow, are going to start cutting rates and reversing monetary tightening towards monetary easing, people have to move ahead of time. They have to move their positions and start hedging for the next year or two. People who are making multi-billion-dollar bets are not trying to day trade the market, folks. They're not doing that. What they're doing is that they're going out and making positions for the next year or two. They're hoping that they can put themselves in a position where a year or two from now, they're going to make 10%, they're going to make 12% at max, right? They just want to make their consistent money. And gold is that potential hedge. And it's a market right now that has, I believe personally, the upside for this to continue and make another 10, 20% move in the next month or so, right? So again, I don't think it's so far-fetched. I think this can move another $1,300, even $1,400. Like that's all gold needs to do to make a 10% move. So I'd love to know what you all think about it down below in the comments. Do you see a potential for gold and silver to really pick up this year? If you do, what price targets do you have? And what do you make about all the news we talked about today in the video? I'd like to know down below in the comments. But until the next video, guys, and until maybe our potential live stream tonight, we'll see if Bitcoin can make it to 10,000. Until that video or one in the future, I hope to see you all in the next one. What's going on, everyone? In today's video, I'm here sitting down with Matthew, who is the CEO and founder of Travala.com, one of the new sponsors on the channel, as well as something that I'm standing by proudly in the sense of being an ambassador for the project. Matthew, thank you for taking the time, man. I know you guys are busy. You guys are always putting in the grind and stuff when it comes to what you're building. And again, a real serious product where you can actually use cryptocurrency. So, Matt, thanks for taking the time, man.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
Yeah, man, it's an absolute pleasure. And, as we've talked about, we've had a few ad spots on the channel and stuff for Travala. I definitely want to spend some time just to let people know, what is Travala, what's your main business model, and what kind of sets you apart from other types of booking sites, which is obviously the industry you guys are going after.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, traveler.com is a global travel booking marketplace. We currently host over 550,000 properties on the platform in 210 different countries. So that's basically every country in the world. We will be increasing that to 1.5 million properties actually in the next 2 months. So we are on standard with the likes of like Expedia, Booking.com in terms of the available room nights that we offer on the platform. Now, Travala allows people to pay with fiat currencies and also with cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Bitcoin, and our native token AVA as well, along with a few other cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think those are some big highlights. And the big thing as well is that you guys are not only seeing the bulk of your revenue in cryptocurrencies. I thought it was actually the other way around when we'd first met. But I thought it was, like 80% and like 90% were in cash or traditional payments. But it's actually I think it's around 80% for cryptocurrency transactions.
Yeah,
Plus, you guys can provide discounts up of 30 to 40% comparative to some of the big players because you guys use a lot of interesting technologies and methods to get around those rates and get more of the underlying market rates.
yeah, exactly, and it's quite cool because our native digital currency AVA also is used within the platform as a sort of incentives token. So for each user that comes to the platform, regardless of the payment method that they use, we give out that cryptocurrency. So we're putting cryptocurrency into the hands of every single user that uses our platform, which is really unique and really stands upon our vision of putting cryptocurrency into the hands of everybody and pushing forward with adoption, which we all obviously want.
Yeah, I think it's good because yeah, not only are you getting people in their firsthand experience with crypto in a lot of cases, for those who may not be familiar with cryptocurrencies, but also it shows a very interesting utility function where basically you can get continued discounts if you lock in certain tokens on the platform. It's kind of like a voucher credit system in a sense, or like credit points that a lot of companies will use. So, I mean, Matt, I just want
Yeah.
to spend some time as well to let everyone know, like, as many people probably know on the channel, I'm really big on merchant adoption and use case of cryptocurrencies. It's still, we're still in the very early days, and every little bit like this counts. So I really appreciate what you guys have done. I'm proud to stand on board with you guys on what you're doing. The one thing I'm
Thank
curious
you.
about, Matthew, in this case is, where do we see Travala going over the next few months? I know we've talked a lot behind the scenes about some things that are coming up, but if for what you can tell people right now, what are some of the exciting things that we can kind of discuss that's going on at Travala at the moment?
So yeah, like I actually just mentioned previously, we're increasing the platform hotel and property offerings to 1.5 million properties across the world, which is fairly substantial. We have a number of different cryptocurrencies coming on board onto the platform, and we are in the process of creating with the likes of Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin. They are major assets, and they believe in what we're doing, providing that gateway to users, their users, and further out there into the world, pushing on the cryptocurrency adoption side of things. So they're really the two main things I can discuss right now. We are about to release a major event, which is one of the biggest in the world, which we'll be partnering with to provide the accommodation for. I believe that will come out in the next week or so. So we're really looking forward to pushing that as well. And we have a few other cool things that we're working on with different foundations across the space as well.
That's awesome. So, just to clarify and stuff, so you guys are building up partnerships with a lot of different cryptocurrencies out there to again increase the payment gateways that people have as an opportunity to actually spend on their bookings. A lot of big events coming down the road. It seems pretty exciting. I'm interested as well. I know we've got some other stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. I'm excited to see be released over time, and again, continuing to build out the brand and partnerships that'll help get Travala out there. So to let people know, if they want to see kind of the real results in this case, the actual price difference that you guys can provide and the opportunity as well to spend some of their crypto, do they just basically want to go to Travala.com or what would be the best place to go to?
Go to Travala.com. You'll see up to 40% discount prices on that of, say, Booking.com or Expedia, for example. So that's the first one. Now, to get even further discounts, what you can do is purchase the AVA token. You can bring it to the platform, and then you can join our membership program. It's called Smart. There's 5 tiers of Smart, and you get up to 10% discount on the already discounted prices that we offer. And that gives you a further give back of the AVA token as well. So even for holding the AVA token on the platform, you get more and more AVA tokens when you make more and more bookings. So it's a really unique model that we actually haven't seen in the space yet. So we've innovated on this, which is really cool to see. Now, further than that, you can reach us on Telegram, on Twitter. we have full 24-hour support on the platform as well if there's any questions or queries that need to be answered. And they're probably the best places to directly reach us as founders and the team as well.
Awesome, Matthew. Well, thank you for taking some time to kind of clarify where people have to go to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing. And can't wait to hear more about the platform. We'll share it here on the channel if anything interesting goes on. But Matthew, thank you for having me on board. And thank you guys for doing something that shows some real tangible use case of cryptocurrencies and my favorite application, which is money. Really appreciate it, man.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much for becoming an ambassador with us.